Hi, this is Zach here with the Bulletin Board Heroes here at Zach's Traders Cafe for Friday, the 11th of April. Starting off with the FTSE 100, where it looks as though 8,000 is the barrier. We obviously had that move back towards the broken support line there near 8,200, which is actually more of a negative because we pulled back so quickly. End of day close above 8,000 is what we're missing at the moment. RSI still very low, 33, although obviously went down to that 5-year low near 14, and that did give a buying opportunity towards the 76, 7,700 zone, which obviously is something that may still stand. At the moment, they're below 8,000, probably looking for that black support line projection from July, heading for 77.30. Moving along to the DAX, and here, obviously a rocky ride as well. Rocky in the sense that we gapped up through the 200-day line, but have then pushed back down and below yesterday's low, 20,600. Looking for the 200-day line again, 19,900 or so. Worst case, obviously, we've got to retest the floor of that triangle towards 18,700. RSI in the mid-30s is a rather grim place to be. At this stage, the only thing which might get us out of jail is a 21,000 close, which, as things stand with China moves on tariffs, doesn't look very likely. Of course, see, we failed basically at previous support there from February around 21,300. Moving on to the Dow, and here the picture also quite difficult to get a handle on. We've failed basically at the old support line projection, 40,500. Below that, we're still in sell-in strength mode, especially given the way that the RSI has also failed at neutral 50 again. We haven't been above neutral 50 since the last week of February, and that does suggest a sell into strength. Obviously, that failure below the RSI 50 level and below the 50-day line was the start of the turmoil that we've seen. In terms of levels now, the old April support there, 37,600 is the potential support point while we are below the 40,500 level. Moving on to Bitcoin, which has echoed some of the turmoil in the equity markets, but so far managed to avoid the worst. We haven't even been able to test the old peak there from last March, around 74,000. We just managed to bounce fractionally above it, or at it, I suppose, if you're looking too closely. Here you can say, though, above 74,000, we're still in a range between that level and the 50-day line there, around 85,000. Moving on to gold, and here is definitely the star of the show. What you can see here is that we maintained our rising trend channel. In fact, we were looking for 3,200 as soon as the end of this month, and it looks like we might even be ahead of schedule there. 3,220, the top of that channel there from November. That's our target, especially while we remain above the midweek resistance around 31.10. Moving on to pound dollar, which is maybe worth having a look at, given all the tariff interruptions that we have at the moment. You can see that it looks as though people are not liking the dollar and more liking the pound. It was interesting that the last time we looked at this market, we had the 50 and 200-day lines rising towards a golden cross, but it was difficult to see what might trigger that. But now we're only about a week or two away from a golden cross. The run up to a golden cross tends to be the strongest part of the cycle, and that is promising us a move to $1.33, which is the top of that falling trend channel from back in 2021. So that's our initial target there. After that, the sky's the limit in terms of heading towards $1.40. On the downside, the worst at this stage would be a test for support at the 200-day line, 128.20, but that seems to be left behind in the rear view window at the moment. Moving on to the stocks, and not that many to get excited about, but throwing in a few extra ones. The first one is Altyn, which we've been covering all the way up, and it looks as though there's a new leg coming up for the stock, $5.20, the top of that rising trend channel, or £5.20 rather, the top of that channel there from September, and we're looking for that while we remain above the floor of the channel, and the 50-day moving average at £3.16. Cora has been a big winner in the recent past, obviously helped by news from its home territory and also the gold price. Here we're in a what looks like a mid-move consolidation bull flag, and that could see the shares head up 10 pence as soon as the end of next month. If everything goes right, we have a pretty swift breakthrough that 5.5 to 7.5 range that the shares have been in over the recent past. RSI is at 65 and hasn't been below neutral 50 since the beginning of February. So, well, in fact, actually even before that, since the end of January. So this is looking very bullish indeed on that indicator. Moving on to a requested stock, which is Greatland Gold, and here we've had the roadmap for quite some time since the start of the year. First target around 7.75, second one around 9.75, third has been now double tested at 13, and that leaves us looking for the ultimate near-term destination as high as 17 pence by the end of this month. Obviously, ASX listing news in the mix today. Ideally, the shares close above 13 pence at the end of this week and stay above the latest or yesterday's resistance of 12 pence. It's interesting that we've actually got a bear trap island reversal, so gapping down last week and then gapping up today. So that tends to be a very powerful signal. We don't see that very often. I think we saw that on the DAX before all the tariff stuff hit the fan. Moving on to Fresnillo, not in alphabetical order, but here we've got rising trend channel. Looks like we've got a breakout on our hands. £11 the top of that channel, looking for that by the end of next month, while we remain above the yesterday's support area around £9, above 9, looking for 11 there on Fresnillo. Hochschild as well, it's sort of the same kind of situation, breaking out through the top of that rising trend channel from January last year. Top of that channel there around £2.80, and above that we're looking for £3.40, perhaps by the end of next month. Obviously, we gapped up yesterday and gapped through resistance, and that tends to be a very strong continuation signal. Moving along to Kefi, which I'm sort of always reluctant to look at because there tends to be black swans flying over this company, but very strong performance today. We obviously had the double bottom there at 0.45 and back in a rising trend channel based at 0.47, rising 50-day moving average as well. So it looks as though a move to 0.6 pence or even up to the top of the gap there at 0.63 could be on the cards as soon as the end of next month, or even sooner. In fact, you could argue that rising trend channel is actually rather higher than I have drawn, so maybe even a target there as high as 0.7 pence. You might want to also take note of the trend channel there, or the trend line there, running through the 0.54 level. If we can break that, then we could be off to the races for once at Kefi Minerals. On to Mindflair, where there's still the aftermath of the company actually taking in some money, I think, from its Get Visibility investment. Here we've got the 50, well, the stock rising above a rising 200-day line. We've got the 50-day moving average curling up, double bounce of RSI 50. In fact, I've had several RSI 50 bounces. So looking at the top of the range, 1.5, 1.6 pence by the end of next month, while we remain above that 200-day line around 0.87. On to Oxford Biodynamics, where obviously there was going to be lots of churn of the recent rather large placing that the company had. I believe it was 7 million. But we've got a falling wedge here and gapping up, actually. If you look closely, there's a resistance line there around the 0.46 level. And above that, we're looking for top of that triangle there as high as 0.6 pence by the end of next month. So just assuming that the longer we stay above the old support there, around 0.44, the greater the chance of the stock delivering the goods. Moving along to a situation which is more straightforward in the sense that just a rising trend channel. Here we've got Pan-African, and it's hit the top of that narrow channel there around 47 pence. Above that, we're looking for 60 pence by the end of next month at the upper parallel of that rising trend channel from beginning of last year. Pensana is next. Haven't looked at this for a while, and here the picture is of retesting the highs, retesting the top of that rising trend channel that we had. Obviously, there was a rather painful pullback, but we bounced above a rising 200-day line, which is a winning bullish thing to do and bounced near to the RSI 50 level as well. Looking for a breakout through 35 pence up to that resistance line projection from the beginning of last year as high as 54 pence by the end of next month. We've got the 50 and 200-day lines both rising in parallel now. That's the equivalent of a golden cross. Finishing off with United Oil and Gas, where one, a bit like Kefi, looks at it with trepidation, but here we have actually had some decent signals. We gapped through the 50-day line and held that, and we've gapped through that resistance line there, the initial target there, 0.1 pence, at the top of that falling trend channel base, and above 0.1, looking for not only the resistance line projection there from December at 0.15, but actually for the shares to fill the gap up to 0.19 pence by the end of next month. You can also see that the RSI is cruising above the neutral 50 level and has bounced above it on 2 or 3 occasions. So that is a leading indicator on the upside, providing there are no fundraise nasties. That's it for me today. More updates tomorrow.